Hello and welcome back to another Technique Tuesday. I'm Sensei Eric, head instructor here at Nemesis Kickboxing Academy, and today we're going to be talking about a couple of basic punches, our jab and our cross. Okay, so these are two of the first punches you learn in boxing or kickboxing because they're some of the simplest, but they're some of the most often thrown punches. In previous videos I've talked about direct and indirect techniques. These are two direct techniques because they're going straight from you to your target in a straight line. If you think about when Usain Bolt run 100 meters, you run straight from that line to the finishing line. It's the same principle with the punch. You're not going to run around. Now, there are punches that come around, like your hook punch, and those generate more power generally, but they are a little bit slower. So on the jab cross, they're more direct, they're much faster, and so we use them a lot, especially the jab. When you're starting out and you're getting used to holding your hands up in guard position, you'll tend to have your back hand right beside your chin here, protecting your chin. This is one of our knockout zones, so that hand will be up here protecting, and your lead hand can be anywhere between your chin, depending how defensive you want to be or attacking. It can be a little bit out to the front. So when it is out to the front like this, we call this our lead hand, and it's just got less far to travel. If I show you from the side, less far to travel from here to here than this hand has if it's traveling from here to here, or if I'm throwing a hook, it's got to go around to hit that target, okay? So it would be like Usain Bolt running the 100 meters, going around the long way of the track, okay? So yes, it'll generate more power, but this is going to be a lot faster, okay? Because it's covering less distance. Less distance equals more speed, okay? Less distance traveled, so if you're traveling at the same rate, you should get there faster in theory. So this is why we call it a direct technique. So our jab punch. Now first things, before we even talk about the punches, is how exactly we clench our fist, okay? So beginners, what they'll sometimes do is they'll do this, okay? If you can see there, they'll tuck their thumbs in underneath their fingers. Now what you should have is your fingers closed first and then your thumbs on top. Which part of your hand are you punching with? It should be the front two knuckles, okay? So we're not really punching so much with the smaller knuckles. These are more fragile and a little bit more prone to break. If you are punching without gloves, if you're hitting a punch bag, make sure you're hitting with those front two knuckles. Now, part of the reason for this is we can also generate a little bit more force if we're traveling in that straight line. If you draw a straight line from my shoulder straight through my elbow, it doesn't really go out the side to the little knuckles, it goes straight through the big two knuckles there, okay? So that's why it travels in a straight line. Now that you've got your fist clenched, you know which part of your hand you're punching with. One other thing to watch out for is turning your wrists as you're punching. So you notice I'm not punching like this, I'm turning my wrist like so, okay? If you imagine the inside of a gun, the barrel is rifled, so the bullet spins as it comes out. That makes it more accurate, makes it faster getting to where it's going, and it's the same with your fist as well. If I just punch straight like that, I'm not generating as much force as if I turn that fist so that my pinky almost ends up on top as I'm throwing that punch, okay? Now, feet. This is really important, your stance, because the power isn't really generated from your arms. If you look at your entire body, your arms are one of the smallest parts of your body, okay? They're quite spindly compared to your torso and your legs. So the power is actually generated basically from the floor up. So you got to make sure you're in the right stance. If you're stood square on with both feet right beside each other and you're trying to generate some force, you might get quite a bit of power into that. But if you put one foot in front of the other and now generate as much force as you can into those punches, you'll notice a difference, okay? It's going to be more powerful. So you want one leg slightly forwards, one leg slightly back. Still about shoulder width apart for good balance though, okay? You don't want them too wide apart so you're falling backwards or forwards, and you don't want them too close together so you're kind of wobbling side to side. So just about shoulder width apart, one leg slightly forwards, one leg slightly back. Which leg is forwards, which leg is back will determine which hand is forwards, which hand is back, okay? I've spoken about this in previous videos. If your left leg forwards, we call this orthodox. Your left hand will be at the front, that'll be your jab. Your right hand will be at the back, that'll be your cross. If you switch and go right leg forwards, left leg back, then your right hand is at the front and your left hand is at the back. So your right hand is the jab, your left hand is the cross. This we call southpaw. Okay, some people fight like this, but the majority fight in orthodox. So for the purpose of this video, I'll do all the demonstration in orthodox. So we've got our feet in the right place now. A little bend in the knees as we work our way up, okay? You don't want to be rigid. A little bend in the knees. Your hips should be nice and loose, ready to turn. Again, we're going to be generating this power up from the floor through our hips into our shoulders. So your shoulders want to be nice and loose, ready to rotate as we throw these punches. Your starting position for your hands, you don't want them down here. It's got a little bit further to travel, not much further, but a little bit further to travel if it's going from there. And also you're leaving yourself open to counter. If my hands are up, at least I can block and attack at the same time. If my hands are here, I can only really attack, okay? You will see some fighters fighting with their hands down low. These are people who are usually very, very good at closing the distance and measuring that distance against their opponents. And it can still be risky and it can still catch you out. So if you're a beginner and you're just starting out and you haven't got used to how to measure that distance or timing against your opponent, definitely start with your hands up, okay? Hands up in guard. Now, I said before, your two knockout areas on your head are your chins mostly. You can also get knocked out being hit in the temple or the back of the head as well. So ideally, you want your hands up, protecting your chins. So as you're throwing your punch, one hand is protecting one side of your head and the other shoulder is going to come up and protect the other side of your head, okay? This is an ideal position because now both sides of my chin are protected. And then when I switch, throw the other punch, this shoulder's protecting this chin and this hand's protecting this chin, okay? So jab, cross, just like so. All right, so we've got the starting position for our hands, for our legs, for our feet. We're all ready to go and throw those punches, okay? Now, let's chuck on our gloves. So, you'll see now I've got these gloves on. These are my big 16-ounce gloves. Last week I spoke about equipment and why we choose different size gloves. So go back and watch that if you want to know why I train in 16-ounce gloves. But for today, these gloves, obviously, they're good for two reasons. They give you more protection for your hands and also my guard. Okay, notice when I wasn't wearing a glove, I was able to protect my chin with my fist. When I put my hand here, I'm almost able to protect my chin and half my head as well with my fist, okay? So that makes my defense a lot bigger, okay? So, the jab cross. Now, there are three things to remember and they all start with R when we're throwing out straight punches, okay? The first one is range. So, if I'm stood back here, I try to throw my jab cross, I'm going to be overbalancing forwards to try and hit that target. It's too far of a distance throw, okay? If I'm stood here and I'm throwing punches, my arms aren't extending, little rabbit punches, and they're not generating as much power as I could. So you want to find that kind of Goldilocks zone, not too far away, not too close, where when you punch, your arm is almost fully extended. Try not to overextend it, okay? You don't want to jar your elbow. If it's 95% extended, and that's just about perfect. So I can land my jab here and my cross there, okay? Jab, cross, again, I'm getting that range right. So not too close, not too far away. That's range, that's the first R. The second R is rotation. So I spoke about this when we're getting our stance right, about being nice and loose in the hips and the shoulders for your rotation. I spoke about the rotation in your wrists as well when you're throwing the punches. So just make sure when you throw that jab, you're rotating from your foot, turning that ankle, turning your knee, turning your hip, turning your shoulder into that punch, and then the same with the other foot, turning that all the way up, like so, okay? So turn and turn. Lead hand punches, lead leg turns, rear hand punches, rear leg turns, okay? So second R is rotation, so range, rotation. The third R is retraction. Okay, so this is a common mistake beginners make. See what I did? Okay, I threw the punches, I let my hands drop, okay? Especially when you start to get tired, Even advanced fighters who've been doing it for a long time, if you're getting into a few rounds of sparring and you're starting to get tired, your hands do start to drop and you throw those punches and they're not quite coming back to your chin. So that's why the third R is retraction, okay? Bringing your hand back to your chin. So you throw that jab and it comes back to your chin at the same time as your other hand's coming out for the cross, and that comes back to your chin. So that way, if Bob had arms and he was punching me back, I could be both attacking and defending with both hands. If I'm dropping my hands, then there's a split second there where I'm leaving my head open and he has a free shot at me without having to worry about me hitting him back, okay? So, our 3 R's that we have to remember: range, making sure you're far enough away; rotation, turning your legs, your shoulders, your hips, and your wrists as you're punching; and retraction, getting those hands back up into guard after you throw those punches, making sure they come back to where they started. Okay, so that's a lot of things to remember just for 2 of the most basic punches, but you can spend a lot of time drilling those things. And we haven't even spoken about how to use jabs and crosses in different ways, different targets. Obviously, you don't always have to punch to the head. You can punch to the body. You can do double jabs. You can mix up the combinations as much as you want. Okay, there is a lot to think about with the jab cross, but just for beginners, that's a really good place to start. So work on that, drill those techniques, and then if you've got any questions about how to take it to the next stage or any other techniques that you want to practice, just drop them below in the comments and we can talk about that in another video. In the next video next week, we're actually going away to a competition to compete. So I'll do a vlog of that day and take some videos of some of our fighters competing. We've got an 11-man strong team going down to Dundee for this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody compete. And hopefully we'll bring back some medals, but the performance is always the most important thing. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you have been, then thank you very much for watching.